Hello everyone, I am Deep from Coding Brothers. Today we will be discussing problem D from Codeforces Round 539. For detailed problem statement, follow the link in the description. So what we are given is, we are given a palindromic string. Okay. Now what we can do is, we can cut this palindromic string into multiple parts. So what do I mean by that is, say you place a cut here and a cut here. Then you have three parts, no, L and on. Now what your task is, you need to form a palindrome with these cuts, okay, which is different from null on. So for example, how I can use these parts to form a new palindromic string? I can take this on, okay, then I can place this L and then I can place this no. Now you can see that this is a palindrome and it is different from null on as well, and we did it in two cuts. So here k was is equals to 2. Okay, so the task is, you need to tell the minimum number of cuts required, okay, for a palindromic string, such that we can form a new palindromic string which is different from this given string. So you were given null on, okay, so you need to tell the minimum number of cuts required in null on such that I can change this to a new palindromic string. Okay, so let us look into a few things, like when we won't be able to form a new palindromic string, you need to report that as well, that it is not possible. Okay, so first of all we will look into those cases like when it is not possible to give an answer, and then we will look into the how we can form an answer if we have an answer after all. So suppose you have a string like this in which all the characters are same. So whatever you do, wherever you place the cuts, after merging it will be all A's only. So it won't be different from the given palindromic string, right? So for scenarios like this, it is not possible. It is not possible to form an answer if you have all the characters as same. Now what if we have, say, like 3 A's, a B and then 3 A's. Now if you want to form a palindromic string and if you have a element whose frequency is odd, then you need to place that element at the center, right? So this position is fixed, I can't change this position if I want a palindromic string. Now I am left with all A's again. Now if I left with only one type of element, whatever I do with this, I can't change this, right? It will after all become same to this only. So for scenarios like this also, it is not possible. Why? Because wherever you cut it, you need to place this B thing in the center only. Okay, now whatever cuts you make here and there, and if whatever shuffling you do, you will be forming triple A's and triple A's only. Okay, so now let us look into some other things, like if you have a string like triple A, triple B and then triple A. Okay, so as I said, like if you have an element with odd frequency, it should be forming the center, right? So we know that this B should form the center. So if I cut it like this, okay, so now what do we have? We have a triple A B, we have a B and a B triple A. So now if I move this thing here and I take this thing there, let us see what will happen. We'll get a string B triple A, then we'll get a B, the center one, then we'll get triple A B. So you can see that this is a palindromic string which is different from triple A, triple B, triple A, right? So in k is equals to 2 cuts, we could do this. Okay. Now the thing is, if the strings are not of this type, at max we will need 2 cuts to form a new palindromic string which is different from the given string. How? Let us dive deep into this. say we have a string like A0, A1, A2, A3, and then we have a n-4, n-3, n-2 and n-1. Okay. So let us suppose this is our string which we are given with, the palindromic string that we are given with, and say like A0, A1, A2 are all same, and A3 is the first time when I have two different types of elements. So what I am saying is, say like this was A, this was A, this was A, and this is B. So this is the first time when I have two different types of elements. Here I was having only A, when I moved here I was having only A's, but when I got A3 I was having say like two elements. So I will place a cut here. Okay. Now similarly A0, A1, A2, A3 are triple AB, that just an example. So this thing, these four elements will also be in this order. Why? Because this is a palindrome. So if I have a A here, triple AB, so this thing is going to be the reverse of that. It is going to be B triple A, right? If this thing is not B triple A, then the given string is not palindrome after all. But that is not the case. We are given with a palindrome, right? So, and this thing as the given string is palindrome will for sure be a palindrome, right? So let me call this palindromic string X. Okay, this is a palindrome, right? Now let me call this prefix and this thing suffix. Okay. Now one thing to see is, as we have two different types of elements here, so prefix won't be equal to reverse of prefix. Right? Why? Because this element and the last element won't be same. Because when I am doing the cut, when I am getting the second element, I was having A, I waited, and as soon as I got another element, I stopped. So if you reverse it, it is not going to be same to this prefix, right? Now if prefix is not equal to reverse of prefix, and we know that reverse of this prefix is basically this suffix, so this prefix is not equal to suffix. So from here we can say that our prefix is not equal to suffix. Okay. Now our earlier string was what? Earlier we were having prefix plus X plus suffix. Here plus means concatenation. Okay. So we were having prefix plus X plus suffix. Now I can say that this won't be equal to suffix plus X plus prefix. Why? Because we know prefix and suffix are not equal. So if I am swapping that, it won't be equal, right? So they won't be same. That thing is for sure. And we saw from here, right? If you are moving this thing at the front, which is just the reverse of that, and pushing that thing at the back, it will remain a palindrome. Why? Because for every I, you are swapping it with the reverse of I. So if you keep that thing, so it will form a palindrome. So two things, that prefix plus X plus suffix, this previous palindrome is not equal to the new string that we are forming, and this new string is a palindrome as well. Right? So we have a new palindromic string which is not equal to the given string when cuts was equal to 2. Right? The cuts was equal to 2. So for every possible answer we can have two cuts and we can give the answer. Right? Now another possible answer could have been 1, right? What if we could have made the answer in one cut only? Right? So for that you can brute force. So what do I mean by brute force is, say you have the string null only, okay. Now for k is equals to 1, you know that the maximum number of cuts that you can make is 1. So what are the possible places you can cut? This is one place, this is another place, this is another place, right? So let us suppose you made the cut here. So you have now n and O. Now what you will do is, you will shuffle this, right? And only way to do that is, you place n after that. So you will change this to O and then you will place your n, okay. So now what you need to do is, you need to check whether this is palindrome, okay, plus this should be different from null. If both these conditions are satisfied, then you have a cut with k is equals to 1. So if you make one cut, the answer is possible. Otherwise, you can always say that the answer is going to be 2. Why? Because we already saw that if the answer is not falling into any of these categories, then it is always possible to get the answer with 2 cuts. So you will basically brute force for checking whether the answer 1 is possible or not. So how you will do that? You will place the cut at I. Now once you are placing a cut at I, you take the suffix, means like this part, okay, you make it the first part and then append the prefix. So you formed a new string, okay. So you need to check whether this is palindrome or not. You can just run the palindromic check, and you need to check the equality between these two. If these two are not equal and if it's a palindrome, then you return the answer as 1, otherwise you return the answer as 2. And this thing is only valid if the strings are not in this section, right? So for implementation details, you can follow the link in the description. Happy coding.